So your business is at risk. How do I know this? Well, being in business, you're naturally at risk. Most places are coming at you at most angles, not always malicious, but enough that you need to be aware of where you're vulnerable. And all of that can seem scary, but the reality is it's just the risk of being in business. It's risky. The nice thing about being in business and being an owner is we can actually learn about all the risks we have from all the angles, and through that knowledge, put towards action to protect ourselves. Now, in this video, I'm just gonna go over some of these potential risks that you can run into as a contractor and how you can counteract those. The first one that really honestly everyone needs to be doing because it's so cheap and it's so easy is lien services. You need to go through a preliminary lien for every single project that you work on, whether it's residential, whether it's a townhome, whether it's commercial, it doesn't matter. If you're providing a service on a physical location, you have the right to place what's called a mechanic's lien. The awesome thing about this is in the stage, you only will have to pay $20 per project, so it's just per lien. And you need to do this within 20 days of stepping foot onto the project to do the work. So not when you're doing the bidding, not when you're in talks, not in the beginning phase stuff, but when you're there to do your work, whether you're framing, roofing, concrete, whatever. When you or your guys step foot on the project, 20 days, you got to do a preliminary lien. This can easily be done by Googling whatever your local lien service would be. And they probably range anywhere from $15 to $30 depending on where you live, but it's so cheap. It is so cheap. What this does for you is give you the protection against clients that are non-paying, which unfortunately these days seem to be increasingly more common. I've been in the industry for over 10 years, and 8 of those years, we probably could have gone away with not doing a single lien. We might have lost on like 1 or 2 properties. In these last 2 years, where we've been leading every single project, I've had to enact at least 6 per year, which has honestly brought us in and guaranteed us tens of thousands of dollars that we otherwise would have not gotten. A quick story is I have a buddy. He does rolled roofing and some waterproofing and some deck specialties. He has a residential client. They're kind of in a debacle and a little bit of a squabble. From what I'm hearing, the client really is just kind of being an ass. Not a nice guy. Giving him a really hard time, and naturally as the owner, you want to put your best foot forward and always do what you can to please the customer and provide great service, naturally. I mean, that's, you want to get paid and you want to have a good reputation. Unfortunately, he never liened the property. Never has before. He just didn't know about it. It's just one of those steps. So through this series of issues and customer dissatisfaction, the customer doesn't pay him, stiffs him, basically just gives him the middle finger. And rather than going through the legal process of taking him to court and pressing legal action, which I told him to do so, you know, it's expensive. I understand. It's a big cost up front. And if you don't have the money right away, that's really hard to, 1, push through. And then 2, you don't have guarantee that you're going to get the money back for your client's fees or even win. You know, the lawyers are expensive and you might have to pay that out of pocket just to fight, and the stress. What occurred was he lost $14,000 on this one project, which, if I'm not mistaken, was half, if not almost half, of the entire revenue of that project. And that's insane. I mean, to go backwards on a project by multiple thousands of dollars, it's not a good sign. So I told him to put down a mechanic's lien on every single project that he does now. Even if you're in the middle of a project, it's not too late. You'll be able to reoccur and protect at least the where you've been for the 20 days prior. And how this protects you is, instead of the risk, or rather stress, money, time, and hassle to take somebody to court, which can take years to get payment back, the lien on the property, if you can prove that you've not been paid what you're due, what you're contractually owed, is you can sell their property. So it's a massive hammer in the industry. It's the biggest thing that protects you, and the biggest reason that we were able to, without stress, collect tens of thousands of dollars. I'm talking dozens. Like, if I were to ballpark, 40 to 50,000. And that's just in half a year. So as a sub or a general, you always just got to do a preliminary lien. And then that way, if you have to enact on a bad client, you can. You have the right to do so, and you can force the lien. Please remember to do this before the project closes, if possible, because that's before the bank closes everything out. If the bank hasn't closed anything out yet and there's a lien on it, it's massive red flags. They can't close the project. They can't turn it over to renters or whatever they're doing with it. They can't make any money until that lien is gone. So big protection. If you did do a lien on an existing project, maybe like a home, you might have to wait a little bit longer, but you do have that stamped down where, if need be, you can force the sale of that property or wait until they try to sell the property. So big plus, massively need to do so. To touch on the second set of protections is, if you're the contractor working on a project, typically as a sub with other subs, you might have other people kind of working in and around your work. A lot of the time, and you know this, it's heartbreaking, but they don't care about your work like you care about your work. They're going to damage it. A lot of the time, me as a waterproofer specifically, and especially, had so much damage done by people just walking on it, putting holes through it, nails being left on the ground, and then getting stuck in the shoe, dragging. And now I've laid this membrane down, for example, to give you the waterproofing example, and it's damaged by other subs. What happens 80% of the time, I joke you not, 80% of the time, they always look at us and say, "Hey, what happened here? We're leaking. Well, I thought we waterproofed this area. It's now leaking." And a massive problem with this is, if you had waterproofing, which we would, anywhere, but let's say we had it for a plaza deck, okay? There's a pool, you're on the 3rd floor over like parking garages, maybe retail space, and you do like a topping slab of concrete or maybe some pavers. It's covered at this point, right? So before, you had no visual sign, and then after, and now it's all covered, and then now you have leaks. Now they're looking at us saying, "Hey, what the hell? Why we have leaks, and it's your problem. You're the waterproofer." Well, we did our job right, but it got damaged by another sub. Whether you're a framer or, in concrete, and somebody walks through your concrete, for example, I've looked at multiple structural slabs that just looked like absolute crap. And it might not have been the concrete guy's fault, but I, looking at it, blame the concrete guy, because that's just the first thing that comes to mind. It's a concrete problem, it's a concrete guy's problem. Even though it could have been another sub walking through, it could have been anything. What we need to do in this space, where we're working on commercial sites or as a sub underneath a general around other subs, is when we do our work, we need to just take the extra step rather than going right on to the next project or getting swamped with our emails. As busy as we are, it's crucial, and put it into your contracts that it is to be at bare minimum walked and signed off by the general contractor. This shows that, and have it in writing, this shows that you applied and installed correctly. And so if anything basically happens wrong afterwards, you can easily divert back to this written statement saying, hey, we walked this, we installed correctly, this was notified by your superintendent, blah, blah, and this is not our fault. I can give you a change order now. And if you don't know what a change order is, it's basically anything that is bigger than the contract, the original contract value. Let's say your contract value was 100,000 and now they want you to do extra work that it wasn't original. You have the right to charge for that. Because otherwise, if you don't go through these protection process, let's call it, they can kind of stiff arm you. It's unfortunate, but it's not uncommon. Anytime that the general contractor can save money and blame a sub and get away with it, it happens too often. It's heartbreaking. I feel like the industry used to be a little bit more honest, but we're at a place now where you really gotta protect yourself. Even though you're this small guy, you gotta make sure that the big guy just doesn't swallow you. So go through this process at a bare minimum. Get an email from the general and have that approved officially. It'll save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and so much heartache, and allow you to apply change orders because you can prove that you did it correctly. Here's it in writing, because everybody forgets what happened 2 weeks ago. You know, it happens. And if you can go a step further, as a waterproofer, for example, we did what's called vector testing, or now it's ELD testing, and we do our waterproofing on a horizontal surface. Anytime that our membrane is going to get covered by a topping slab or what have you, we do this testing and then have that third party. It costs $1,000, which when you're putting in bids for $250,000, in this case $400,000, no brainer. $1,000 per test, that's chump change. Because now we have a third party report that guarantees, hey, no leaks. And if there was a leak, that they write it in there, it was fixed. And however this may apply to you as a framer, concrete, roofing, all the above, there's always a risk associated. So sit down for a minute, think about how other subs may damage your goods and what sort of courses you can do to make sure that that gets protected. And if you can't do a third-party testing through like an inspection, what have you, it gives you that stamped guarantee where nobody can dispute it and gives you all the rights to get payment. Well, that's going to be it for this video. There's tons more protections, but honestly, I just wanted to hit those two and really drive it home. Stoked that you're crushing it in the construction game. And if you find value in this video, I'm going to be posting more every single week. So stay tuned for that. I also have a newsletter down there, which will just have daily updates. That's all free. And if you're ready to work with me directly, I help my clients succeed with their most desired goals, whether it's achieving more clientele, learning how to hire and fire employees, set up the systems they need, set up the right administrative, or just hit a bigger goal for your income. I brought in 2 to 3 million annually for my company as the COO. So I got a few tricks up my sleeve and I'm happy to help. Till then, see you.